Welcome to the podcast, where the path you make is the path you take. Tonight I have Sister Laila with me. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mariam. My name is Laila Akbar, and I'm a registered dietitian here in BC.
Nice to see you. Okay. Well, thank you for coming tonight. I wanted to ask you some questions about Ramadan. Starting with, how can someone build a suhoor that helps them stay energized and focused?
That's a great question, Mariam. So we do want to have a suhoor that incorporates, I think, three major things. We want to have a very lean protein, such as eggs, for example, or even like Greek yogurt. Some people can even have lentils or tofu if they're like vegan, for example. So those would be very important for sustaining energy and also stabilizing your blood sugar throughout the day. The other thing that I'd like to focus on is fiber. The fiber obviously protects your gut, and ensures that it is functioning, but it also slows down digestion. So you're not going to feel hungry throughout the day. And lastly, healthy fats. So I know a lot of people, especially if you're Indo-Pakistani, may want to have your parathas and puris for suhoor, but actually having those kind of fats that are fried and saturated actually are not good for your digestion. And they may actually even impair like focus and concentration throughout the day. So incorporating good nuts like walnuts, almonds, chia seeds, flax seeds, those would be really good options for suhoor. So protein, fiber, and healthy fats, and of course, hydration. So ensuring that you're having enough fluids. It can be in the form of even tea and coffee. That's all right too, but also water.
Right. I really like that answer. Thank you. Are there any common nutrition mistakes you see during this month?
Well, many. I think for one thing, a lot of people skip suhoor. So then what happens is they overeat at iftar time when they break their fast, and they overeat. And also they crave the wrong foods. So that's when you start craving sugar and sweets and fried foods, as opposed to the more nutrient-dense foods that would actually be better for you. The other thing is then you might get like more sluggish, like you're fatigued and you're not thinking straight. So there's going to be that part. Also, people don't focus on hydration. So they don't drink enough fluids when they're not fasting to make up for the time that they are fasting. So those are a few mistakes people do. And then again, focusing on like fried foods when you break your fast.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. Pakoras, samosas, instead of focusing more on fruits and vegetables and having salads and soups at iftari, they definitely go for the fried foods. So I definitely see that commonly as a mistake in Ramzan. And then keep in mind, you're going to face like energy crashes if you have too much sugar and fats. And if you're not going to have enough protein or hydration, the same thing. It impacts your focus and your ability to concentrate when you're going to school or working during the day. So those are some common mistakes that I see for sure.
Do you suggest like a healthiest way for someone to break their fast?
So it's very similar to suhoor. You want to, first of all, break your fast gently. There is no rule that we need to eat everything right at 6 p.m. when we open our fast. So I usually tell people slow and steady wins the race. So you want to have a couple of dates. It's very important. They're high in fiber, but also electrolytes to replete the electrolytes you didn't have during the day. So that's really important. Start with water, take a little bit of a break. Sometimes I tell people now, like, have some soup. It has protein in it. It can have vegetables in it. We're still in the winter months, so why not? Have a bowl of soup, then take a break, and then have something more later on. So that's one way. You could also do like a protein smoothie. You can also do like fruits and incorporate like oatmeals and fiber and break your fast with something like that. And you can actually put dates in it. So you can still incorporate having dates in a different form, and then having like maybe a meal or a main meal a couple of hours later. And right now, the fasting in winter will allow us to do that, where we're not eating at 10 p.m. and don't have enough time to eat. And then, of course, hydration. Like for sure, definitely, have lots of fluid, have a lot of like water. Even milk is a good idea to make sure you're having enough sources of calcium that you're going to miss out during your lunch.
Those are some really good tips.
Thank you.
How do you prevent dehydration while fasting, though?
That's a great question. So most people on an average need 8 cups of fluid. Now, it doesn't have to be water, but it has to be fluid. So really, if you think about it, that means you basically need to have like 4 cups at suhoor and 4 cups at iftari. And that is not going to happen.
Right.
So that's going to be very difficult to do. So what I suggest to people is try to have at least 2 cups at sehri, if you can, like at suhoor. And then in iftari, try to at least between the hours you're awake, have like a cup every hour. Now, if that's not doable, avoid salty foods. Salt and sugar are very dehydrating, especially sodium. Sodium actually makes you feel very thirsty as well.
Mhm.
And your body, in order to regulate the sodium in your bloodstream, will make you thirsty. So, you don't want to definitely do the things that will dehydrate you. Now, most people probably won't have enough caffeine to really have a diuretic effect. You need to have a
Mhm.
lot more of it. So I don't think a lot of people will have like 6 cups of coffee during
Right.
Ramzan.
Yeah.
So again, it's not detrimental, but if you are someone that has a lot of caffeine, you may want to cut back on that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that would be one thing. And then add electrolytes like bananas, dates, all of these things really like fulfill our electrolyte needs and keeps the fluid inside our body.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Now for something more specific. Who would need medical guidance during Ramadan?
Oh, that's a really good one. So, I'm not a physician, but as a dietitian, what I could say is there are certain medical conditions that may require a healthcare provider, such as your GP, to have a little bit of insight.
Mhm.
So, some of the groups that I would say need some medical guidance or input before fasting would be people that have diabetes, especially those that are on insulin, and if they can manage that. Also, pregnant and breastfeeding women, because their needs might be different. And, if they have like high risk pregnancies, then perhaps fasting may not be safe for them. So I would again refer them to their GP. People with even kidney disease, because dehydration, can actually lead to kidney failure, especially if you're on the cusp of having a low GFR. Certain medications require to be taken with food. So, and even people that have like severe anemia and are prone to fainting or like low blood pressure. So some of these individuals, especially, and even the elderly, but if you have a medical condition, it's best to ask your GP and get advice because they know you the best.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good advice. And lastly, what are some of the best lessons for someone to incorporate from Ramadan for the rest of their life?
That's a great question, Mariam, because we do have to kind of think about what are some lessons, not just the spiritual lessons we want to learn that we learn from Ramzan, but also the health lessons that
Mhm.
we learn from Ramzan. So I would tell people like Ramzan comes and we actually abstain from a lot of bad habits. So, like, for example, people that smoke, they won't smoke while they're fasting, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you're someone that's used to having like 6 cups of coffee or tea, you won't be doing that during Ramzan. So I think Ramzan brings a good reminder that we can actually abstain from things that are not good for our health. And it builds willpower, it builds self-confidence to be able to do that so that at least when we are back into like normalized eating again, and we crave certain foods that are not good for us, I think we can actually build a relationship with food to realize like, hey, like I actually lived without this for 30 days. Right. And so I have some willpower that allows me to avoid things that are not good for my health, after Ramzan.
I think that's a perfect way to close
Yeah.
this off. Thank you so much for
You're
being here tonight.
welcome. Thank you for having me, Miriam.
Thank you.